Hey guys, welcome to Toy Shop. Today we're doing rear axle bearings on a Polaris Trail Boss. Alright, so first step is to take both back wheels off. If you look on your rear axle, there's two nuts on this side of the axle. There's just a shoulder over there. Because the two nuts are on this side, that's telling me that this axle needs to go that way through the rear axle carrier. So that means we got to get this hub off. I think we can get away without taking the other one off, but we got to pop this plastic cover off. We got to get this cotter pin out. Looks like there's two washers on here. Now this should pull off. Now I've got the master link rotated up here on the chain because we got to get the chain off. So we're going to pop that off, get the chain off of this, and then we're going to start breaking these nuts loose here. All right, so I lowered the lift down so I can use the ground to help hold the pipe wrench here. I've got a pretty decent sized pipe wrench on the axle here. Don't try to grab the splines out here because you don't want to screw those up for the hub. And then I've just got like one of the biggest crescent wrenches you can buy at Harbor Freight. Now I'm just going to help use the weight of the wheeler to hold the pipe wrench so I can get this first nut broke loose. I might need me a cheater pipe. All right, so some heat, 4-foot cheater pipe, and pretty much I stood on the end of the cheater pipe. So she was toy. All right, so a little pro trick is I was having a hell of a time getting this nut off. I kind of half stripped it. I probably could have taken these bolts out and taken this big ring off, and it would have given me more room to get on there more square. So what you can use is an air hammer. And what I did, you can kind of see down there, is I kind of went straight in on the nut right by the corner. And I kind of got a little groove made just by hitting it square on. Plus that little bit of vibration helps. And once you get a little bit of a groove kind of beat in there with the air chisel, you kind of go at it at an angle. Probably what I'm going to do once I get this off is I'm going to kind of grind the high spot off of that flat again so that I can get a wrench on it in the future. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And because we can't get an impact on this, because the axle's so long, this is kind of the next best thing to an impact. It does kind of the same thing. But you do risk dinging up your nut, or you're going to screw up your nut a little bit. If you end up screwing it up too bad, I'm sure you could call the dealer and order a new nut. But I'm just going to clean this up and kind of clean this high spot off of here. And we're probably going to end up reusing that. So that's how I got that one off. I'm going to finish taking it off probably with a crescent wrench just to not beat it up so bad. But I wanted to show you guys that. So in theory, now that both those nuts are off, really there should be nothing holding this axle into this housing here. So I want to try to get the axle out, and then I'm going to pull the aluminum housing out afterwards. But right now I'm going to use the swing arm to hold the housing while I beat the axle out of it. So this ring assembly here should go off the end of the shaft that way. All right, so this should all be loose now. What I ended up doing was instead of trying to beat the axle in, I ended up taking this thing. That right there, that's a cast bung off this hub that goes on the axle. And I took the air hammer and I just put it up against it, and I just started air hammering it out, and then I'd rotate it and hit it again and rotate it and hit it again. Started walking this piece here off the end. She's coming. I'm gonna finish getting this the rest of the way out, and then we can work on getting the actual hub out. All right, so to get this out of here, you got to take these two bolts that pinch these straps together. You got to take those bolts all the way out, and then I don't know, there's like a bung stuck out right here, and it sticks up higher than the round part. Basically what you have to do is you need to take this whole centerpiece, you need to rotate it forward until those bungs come out here and they line up with the gap in these steel straps, because that's the only way to get this out side to side. If you look up top here on these straps, it's designed to only rotate this way so far, and then it'll stop. So you have to rotate it down around this way, in order to get those to line up. So now we can get this pushed out the side. All right, so we got that out. I took the air gun and kind of blew everything off, but now what we got to do is we got to start peeling seals out and then start getting the bearings tapped out of here. Now the side we just popped a seal out of, I'm going to flip it over, stick this down in there and try to catch that inner race. All right, it's pretty much flush. So now I want to set this up on 2x4s, try to put a gap between the bottom of this and the bench so I can keep tapping that out. Here she is. All right, now there's a steel tube in here. Should be able to just drive this bearing and seal out on this side all at once. We got the bearings out of this. I'm gonna take this over the parts washer and get all the grease and stuff cleaned out of it and clean up this tube. We need this tube, so don't throw that away. All right, so now that that's all cleaned up, we're gonna get the bearing pressed in this side, and then we're gonna get the seal in. After that, we are gonna stick this steel collar down in up against the bearing that's in the other side, and then we're gonna press this bearing in till it stops, and then press the seal in. All right, so I got that bearing and seal in, so now I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna stick this steel collar in there. And then we're gonna get this bearing here pressed in. All right, so we got both sides put together. I'm gonna put some grease in each one of these seals, and then we're gonna put this back in the swing arm. All right, so I got grease in my seals, and then I greased this up really good. I cleaned up the teeth in here, and I cleaned up the threads, and then I greased everything really good. I wire brushed all that stuff to try to get the heavy stuff out. Let me get started in here. All right, just make sure that this collar here goes inside that seal nice. Once I got this part of the axle inside that seal, then I knew that that was far enough. So then I took my rear sprocket and I slid that over, and I kind of had to tap it to get it on far enough to where there was some threads sticking out. Once there was some threads sticking out, I put the washer and the first nut on there, and then I just kind of started tightening that nut up to suck it in. And then I was watching this gap back in here till it started getting snug. Once it got tight, I put a pipe wrench on that side and I started snugging up this side. Got this first nut set pretty decent. You don't want it to have a big bind on here, but because you can over tighten that axle nut, you'll end up pushing the bearing races into each other and putting a weird load on the bearing, so make sure you don't do that. After I got that first one snugged down, then I just ran the second nut on. The second nut's just a jam nut, so snug that up against the first nut so it can't back out, and then we're good. So this is still loose right here. We're gonna put the chain back on the sprocket, put the master link back in it, and then we're gonna cam this around to get the chain tension tight. We are on the home stretch. I got the chain put back together and the chain tension tight by rotating this middle piece here. I've got this hitch put back on. These two bolts are tight. I've given this a couple squirts of grease. All I got left to do is smear a little grease on here, slide the hub on, put the nut on with a cotter pin, and put the back tires on. So this rear axle is done. All right guys, hope this helped. If you guys got anything out of this video, make sure you click like and hit subscribe. But until next time, peace.